waffling. They were trying to outdo the two sides. Woodrow Wilson and Teddy Roosevelt were being hypocritical, denouncing Wall Street money trusts, and they were backed by both of them. Yeah, or both of them were backed by the same people they were denouncing. Anyway, Dr. Kolko goes on to tell us that at the beginning of 1912, banking reform seemed a dead issue. The banking reform movement had neatly isolated itself. Wilson resurrected the issue and promised the country a money system. Does this sound familiar? Woodrow Wilson promised the country a money system free from domination by the international bankers of Wall Street. Moreover, it's a bit like these fuckers saying now, we need reform, we need this to make sure it never happens again, to make sure it never happens again. We'll bring in laws to make sure it never happens again. You bring in laws and you can circumvent laws, and it will happen again, provided the planet doesn't split in two, which it may well do, or provided, people don't lose the plot and start launching nuclear weapons, which they may well do, because, I don't know, satellites crashing into each other out in space. Sounds like some kind of Dr. No, Dr. Evil shit there. Anyway, he promised a money system free from domination by the international bankers of Wall Street. Moreover, the Democratic platform expressly stated, we are opposed to the Aldrich plan for a central bank, but the big boys knew who they had bought. Among the international financiers who contributed heavily to the Wilson campaign, in addition to those already named, were Jacob Schiff, Bernard Baruch, and Henry Morgenthau, Thomas Fortune Ryan, and New York Times publisher Adolf Ochs, O-C-H-S. Right, the insider sheepdog who controlled Wilson and guided the program through Congress was the mysterious Colonel Edward Mandell House, the British-educated son of a representative of England's financial interests in the American South. The title was honorary. House never served in the military. He was strictly a behind-the-scenes wire-puller puppet master, and is regarded by many historians as the real president of the United States during the Wilson years. House author. Oh, by the way, folks, I've read this book about 100 times. Since 1988, I think I first read it. I'll read all my books several times and go over them again and take issue with certain parts and this, that, and the other. Anyway, he was regarded as the real president of the United States during the Wilson years. House authored a book, Philip Drew, Administrator, in which he wrote of establishing socialism as dreamed by Karl Marx. As steps towards his goal, House, both in his book and in real life, called for passage of a graduated income tax and the central bank providing a flexible, inflatable paper currency. The graduated income tax and the central bank are two of the 10 planks of the Communist Manifesto. In The Intimate Papers of Colonel House, Professor Charles Seymour refers to the Colonel as the unseen guardian angel of the Federal Reserve Act. Seymour's work contains numerous documents and records showing constant contact between House and Paul Warburg while the Federal Reserve Act was being prepared and steered through Congress. Biographer George Virek, these fucking weird names, assured us that the Schiffs, the Warburgs, the Kahns, the Rockefellers, and the Morgans put their faith in House. Their faith was amply rewarded. In order to support the fiction that the Federal Reserve Act was a people's bill, the insider financiers put up a smokescreen of opposition to it. It was strictly a case of Brer Rabbit begging not to be thrown into the Brer or Briar Patch. Remember Brer Rabbit and the Briar Patch? Both Aldrich and Vanderlip denounced what in actual fact was their own bill. Nearly 25 years later, Frank Vanderlip admitted, now, although the Aldrich Federal Reserve Plan was defeated when it bore the name Aldrich, nevertheless, its essential points were all contained in the plan that was finally adopted. Taking advantage of Congress's desire to adjourn for Christmas, The Federal Reserve Act, or even Reserve Act, was passed on December the 22nd, day after the equinox, 1913, by a vote of 298 to 60 in the House, and in the Senate by a majority of 43 to 25. Wilson had fulfilled to the insiders the pledge he had made in order to become president. Warburg told House, well, it hasn't quite got everything we want, but the lack can be adjusted later by administrative process. Ah.